And yes, I understand all fictional characters are not real people. I get that. But part of what makes fiction work is our willingness to accept that in our own heads they are.
Says who?
And that's something we kind of have to realize, like, sure, this isn't like something we're creating or anything, and we can't really do much about it. But it's just sad to see that's like such a big trope.
So we're talking about, at this point, a general dehumanizing aspect.
Right, and I mean, like, especially when, I think, to the point is that when fan service does get in the way of your story, like, when you obviously have a really cool thing to tell. Yeah. Like, there's this amazing world they're trying to build up, or, like, this cool, interesting plot, and then you're just like, well, we're just gonna fill it with fan service and call it a day.
It's there for several reasons, and one of them is because it's fun to look at pictures of scantily clad people when you're alone in your room. And maybe some of that translates over to pausing the stream at some point. And
let's cut this shit off, bro.
I gotta
cut this shit the fuck off.
IGN, bad opinions,
bad takes
all around.
So the video is about like fan service that needs to go away or whatever, things like that.
And they used Shimoneta as an example. Like, come on, come on, man.
My biggest example would be Shimoneta, which I had to stop watching because Anna is like just assaulting the main character, and it's disgusting, and I couldn't handle it, and it was played off like a joke a lot of the time, and I was really grossed out by it.
Failing to understand the assignment completely, like my guy. But the thing, so the dovetail that's really, really good here is that on the one hand, we've talked about like the ethics of intelligence and like when it comes to violence, we are all willing to have a way wider threshold for acceptable violence. But the second you bring up sex, suddenly everyone gets real squicky icky. And that is the main problem here with this IGN video, is that like they didn't bring up any amount of violence, gore, or death in anime. They're only squicked out by certain people's modalities and viewpoints on sex not comporting with theirs. And it's just lazy.
Yeah. I have a whole like series of content. I've written like a whole book on this shit. I'm trying to turn into video content at some point, but the basic topic, and this is something that, because you and I are old, we've been around for a very long time, and so we've kind of witnessed like we were here when like fucking Prometheus gave us the first jiggling anime titties.
For I have survived the age of dial-up.
Oh my lord, my lord. I mean, yeah. So when we were younger, there weren't enough people really watching the content to have this much of an opinion. But because it's like mainstream now, there's lots of critics, and we're in an age of where the, how do I put this? When we were younger, the nerds' relationship to the media that they love was, they demonstrated that love by demonstrating knowledge, right? So the more you knew about the thing that you were into, the more you could be said to be a fan of it. And now fandom is more in the direction of finding critiques about it. So like trying to find the feat of play of this content, trying to find something that's wrong with it, and that kind of thing. And there's also just a lot of sensitivity sort of, you know, that's come through the backlash of like the last sort of 10 years of human rights movements, like, you know, BLM, the trans rights movement, Me Too, things like that. Those have really impacted our relationship with media critique in general. And all of that is under the umbrella, right, of Westerners who cannot turn off the imperialism. They can't stop. It's like breathing air for them. They can't not do it, right? They cannot.
Yeah, we've had that.
Walk into the room. They can't walk to a single fucking room without imperializing. You know what I mean? So like,
this is why I've said Americans are always going to make bad leftists, because they're going to be imperialists who have stopped being imperialists, but they're still not good at being anti-imperialists.
They don't know how to like just not do that, right? And so what you have in this IGN video, and I don't think they're bad people. He made that very clear. I don't think that they seem to be lovely individuals, right? But what they're doing is they're finding their own squicks, their own personal things that they have discomfort with, and universalizing and saying that when this element is present in a piece of media and it's not sufficiently critical of that element, then that is a detriment to the media itself, right? And that's an imperialist take, my dog. I don't know what else to tell you. You know, like if you're going to come in and say that like anytime anyone does this very broad thing, then it is a stain, it's a blemish on that media. I don't know what to tell you other than that, like, like nobody asked you for your opinion. You can go home with all that, right? Now, at the same time, I do think that there are ways to critique from like an outside lens, and it has to be very, very specific. So for instance, right after 9/11, if you were a brown American, if you were Arab, whatever, right,
I
probably if
didn't
you were
have.
in the
I didn't know
role.
this was going to be about 9/11. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't realize this was suddenly going to be about 9/11. Sorry.
Like, yeah, come on, gotta wave that flag, man. No, but for real though, right? Like, if you were an actor, if you were an Arab American actor, or you're just brown in general, doing any sort of television or small roles in the years after 9/11, basically for the rest of the odds, right? Probably you were a terrorist, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, remember the show 24? That was just like
Oh
all
man, that
brown
show was
people,
wild. I can't believe we let that shit rock. We let that shit ride for almost a decade.
right? We just let that shit happen, right? And
Yeah.
like, you can look at this and say this is a specific, like the trend of limiting brown people or Arab Americans to performing this role is obliquely and specifically targeting that group of people, right? I don't think you can make that same kind of statement when it's broad, right? When it's like non-contextual, like all women, right? Like all
Yeah.
women cannot be a category that you say that kind of thing about, especially when women aren't being pigeonholed, right? Like, regardless of what modern anime critics like to tell you, women have very varied presence
Tastes
in
and ideas. Yeah.
tastes, ideas, and representation across anime because there's just so fucking much of it. Of course, women can do lots of different things, right? They're not just sexual objects, but they sometimes can
Well, the
be,
first
right?
problem with most Western critiques of anime is that you can tell these people only watch shonen. That's just
Right?
problem number one. Is they only watch shonen. They
Only
simply
battle
have
shonen
not
at that, right?
only battle shonen. Yeah, only one specific type of shonen. They have not watched any of the stuff that's targeted at women in Japan. Like
Or
Japanese women, they never have to open Shonen Jump. They're so represented by other things. They just don't
right,
have to deal with this, right? Like,
right, and like it is that's like the big one there, right? But like what they're critiquing, right, is what they call uh, sexual assault, right, in anime, which is really just sort of humorous sexual contact that is, in theory, non-consensual, right? Um, there's some
well,
sort of noise.
the problem, yeah, like that's it. The problem is that um there's this they've overcorrected to assume that all sexual contact that is less than explicitly uh enthusiastically consented to is therefore assault and not just a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
Like there's no
and that
middle
it's
ground.
as offensive in the context of the story as it would be in reality, right? And we only think this about sexual things, as you mentioned earlier, right? Like,
Yeah,
nobody says, if your friend is like, dog, I'm like, I got the most headshots in Fortnite of anybody on the whole server, right? If someone like is proud of that fact, you don't then like assume that they're about to become a spree shooter, right? We don't assume
exactly.
that,
Yes,
about
exactly
people,
that. Yeah, you're allowed to enjoy getting the goriest glory kills in Doom Eternal or whatever,
right?
and that's just good, clean fun. But no one's out here going, everyone who plays Doom is definitely a spree shooter. But
Exactly.
we've
Right.
let this conversation go that way towards. And here's the thing: it's not even about whether it's like explicit sexual content.
Mhm.
Anything that can be construed as sexual, and especially anything directed at women's bodies,
Yeah.
because like this always specifically goes towards like weirdly enough objectifying women, even though you're claiming that you're trying to be against that because
Yeah.
you've
Like,
treated women's bodies as only inherently objects or vehicles for sex and nothing else,
absolutely. That
and they
that
don't have agency. They can't possibly
yes.
participate in that of their own volition for their own ends. No, 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 no.
Precisely. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Like, look at who's the author of Urusei Yatsura and Rama One Half, Rumiko Takahashi, right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
she loves writing those kinds of stories where women randomly get their tits bust out, for humorous effect because titties are funny, right? And like,
Yes,
nobody is going to like, are we really trying to like bust in this woman's house and be like, you are an anti-feminist, actually you hate women? I want you to know that by drawing the manga that you have drawn, you have demonstrated your hatred of women, right? Like,
yeah.
uh, if you're trying to do that, then I don't fuck with you. Basically, that's just that's the most I can say about that, because like it's
And
just
drawing it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
no. I mean, like it's only for sexual content. It's only for certain kinds of sexual content, and like somehow we're able to fix our minds to say that this is the same thing as like blackface or some other like
Or
really
some other, yeah,
obliquely,
cut and dried,
directly,
offensive.
actually offensive content, right? So no,
And to draw it back specifically to the IGN video, like, they, how do I say this? They don't understand Japanese women. Is like you said, it's
yeah,
the imperialist concept that like Western feminism is the only feminism, or that the things that they have decided are ick for everyone. And it's like, I'm
right,
sorry, you clearly, like, they try to talk about things they come to understand about life in Japan. And one guy I think talked about living in Japan, and they were
yeah,
shallow. They were correct at the very shallowest sense. But I'm sorry, having lived here, I got bad news for a lot of these Western,
right,
especially Western people commenting
right,
on Japan. Japanese people are horny. Japanese women are horny. They
for
be out
real
here.
though.
They out here fucking, bro. They out here fucking, and it's okay. Like,
It
you
it's
don't understand
okay.
how, yeah, you don't, like, because they see the superficial notion of like men and women in Japan don't spend a lot of time around each other, and
Yeah,
mistake that for some sort of like chastity. It ain't chastity, my guy. They over there, they're both equally rubbing their hands together and plotting on each other. You
for
just don't
real,
understand.
for real, and like
Like,
and girl otaku, like like ero kawaii situations. Like I follow
yes,
this one YouTuber who, uh, as you know, Apollo, you know me in real life. You know that I have a sizable figure collection, and so I follow
yes.
some figure content creators, people who have like massive collections, ones that absolutely dwarf mine, right? And oof, like damn girls. But anyway, like I was watching her like talk about the different types of erotic figures that she has and figures that she hopes will come out one day, and they're often very like salacious. It's like the chick from Hiroaka, like the one who's invisible, and then like Horikoshi did a drawing, I think, of her on the cover of Shonen Jump once, and she has like
Oh,
the lines, like the do not cross lines covering up her bits, and like
oh,
you know
wow.
here's this regular ass otaku girl who's like, I want this figure to come out so I can put it with my collection. Please give me this figure. And of course, it will 100% be a figure within the next 2 years. There's somebody's designing that bitch right now. I guarantee it. Right.
Oh, okay. I have to
Like,
find this figure. I have to find this cover, yo.
but like this became a whole thing in the West, about this is objectifying this character, and anything short of a girl boss who don't need no man, who like that's just, there's lots of different types of femininity, lots of different expressions of femininity, lots of different expressions of sexual female characters, and like Japan just has a lot more of it, right? There's a lot more diversity in that regard,
Yeah,
and
it's
people here,
open.
including women, like it. Okay, like I'm a woman, I like it. I have lots of erotic figures. I will probably have more in the future. So
I
like
mean,
yeah.
no, story time, dog. Like, I told you, I think I've told you this one before. When I was working a trade show for my company, there was another. I don't know if this is too specific for the wider internet, but it was so many years ago that I don't think anyone involved is gonna like face any backlash. But
Mm,
years and years ago, someone was demonstrating one of those early like virtual kanojo things, the
mm,
VR
mm, 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 mm.
girlfriend thing, where you put on one of the early headsets and you like interact with the virtual girl. And she was an anime girl in a bikini because it was a date with a girl on the beach, right? And every man I watched put on that headset was trying to analyze this as like digital content, like what's the collision detection, like how far away from the character can I go, how close do I go before I clip through their hair or whatever, right? They were like respectfully interacting with this content, not because woman, but because someone made this for me to interact with. I want to interact with it both in the way that they want me to, but also like kick the tires on the shit.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
dudes breaking a game, right? Every single woman I saw put on that headset, the first thing they did was jiggle that anime girl's titties. Just like violently jiggle and slap around her titties, not because sex, but because it's funny.
It's
Like,
funny. It's
that monitor
funny.
was in front of the entire room. Everyone could see what you were doing to the virtual girlfriend. So everyone saw that every woman was like, hey, bounce them titties. And it's like, it was funny because
It
jiggly, digital, 3D, bikini, dead or alive style. titties. It's funny. It's funny it's funny in that situation.
It is, and I do like how playful horniness is like. It's a thing here, you know. Like it never died here. It's still very much alive.
Yeah.
I stand. I stand.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be able to enjoy all this stuff in context, and it's the
Yeah.
fact that, like you said, the viewership and fandom has expanded so much that there are a lot of people coming who are like walking into the room having read no books, being very loud
Mhm.
about their opinions, and everyone's like, "Oh, we have to take you seriously now."
And you shut the fuck up.
Like we wouldn't do this for any other fandom, but we're doing this with like anime for some reason. Also,
Exactly.
again, oh, sorry, we're
No,
pretending anime is only one thing, and
right.
Westerners haven't discovered genres. Westerners haven't realized anime has genres. Like, dog,
Exactly.
I'm an
Exactly.
action fan. I don't care what someone who loves uh, romance and drama TV shows thinks about my enjoyment of One Punch Man. They're
Right.
here for different reasons. It's fine, dog. Like,
It is, and that is like the live and let live, right? Like this is you
yes,
see this even a lot in anime. You'll have characters tell other characters like, "Don't you don't come into my space and tell me how to enjoy my shit, right? I don't tell you how to enjoy your shit. You don't tell me how to enjoy mine."
ティアナ、一つ目は
人の趣味に干渉しない。
And like, if you don't like what I like, don't watch it, right? Don't come and tell me that it's wrong, it's X, it's Y, Z, it's bad because of this, that, and the other. No, you just don't watch it, right? And then you go watch something else, right? Like probably the biggest show for the last 2 years that keeps having its keeps getting relitigated basically is My Dress Up Darling, because Westerners love it.
oh,
It's very, very popular. I love it. I have two Kitagawa Marin figures, you know, so I'm a big fan of that show. But people are a little bit upset at the Sakuga that went into animating her titties and even like really
eh,
lovingly crafted erection one episode.
eh.
Um,
That's
uh,
fine. That's fine.
it
You
it
got to
it
learn to draw anatomy, my guy.
I mean, you do. Like it's they put a lot of time and loving energy into the bounce in each episode. Like just a lot of love into it. And now she is a Koichi student, right? So she's in her first year of high school, and people are upset about that. But here's the thing, right? There are no minors in the production of this show, right? Not the mangaka, not the voice actress, not any of the animators, not you, the consumer. There are no minors involved, right? So that's why none of us who are watching Kitagawa are thinking about high school, because that would be weird, right? Like I'm not like thinking about real ass high schoolers. That would just be fucking weird, dude. The
I'm
same with
gonna spicy take then. Spicy
oh
take alert.
uh
Here it comes. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it. Watch out, he's gonna say it.
oh
um,
shit, oh shit.
uh, I honestly think it is okay, acceptable, and even good, I dare say, to watch content that depicts minors going through life in a way that like
And
makes
then
you introspective and reflective on your experiences as a minor. I
yeah,
don't like how in the West there's a cutoff where like once you're 18 you're allowed to be as horny as you're like within reason, but like all 18-year-olds have forgotten what it was like to be 15 and horny. I
well,
think that is a real
well,
problem that we don't examine that.
here's the thing though. I would say it's even worse in the West. They also have content about minors. Do like look at the show. What was that show with the
Euphoria and
yeah,
whatnot.
Euphoria?
Or
There's
Big
shit
Mouth.
like that all the time, right? Big Mouth, I
Yeah.
think, is slightly different because it's like anime. Everyone involved in the process is an adult. But like right now, we're watching like live, human 3D human meat puppets, right? That are trying to look and act like actual minors. That to me, I'm not going to tell someone, that they're a bad person for watching it, but that's a squick for me. I cannot watch, real life 3D people who are trying to actually look like young people engaged in like sexual activity. So for example, like in the movie Superbad, I don't know if you remember this, back in the day,
Oh
they had
yeah.
real minors like pretending to have sex in that movie, right? And so the minors' parents had to be on set while they were directing this, right? And it's like I feel like we don't have to do that, right? Like you could just make an animation, right? That way minors at home can relate to these minors as minors. And the rest of us, who are like real thinking adults, they're just abstract characters that we can like for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, they're abstract, but yes, they're that's exactly it. Like they're allowed to be abstract for
Yeah.
the purpose of exploring a situation or scenario that is relatable to the human experience. So
Yeah.
that's why, like, ever since the dawn of time, I've never particularly cared if characters are high school characters or not, because they're not really high school characters. They
They're
skip
really
school
not.
whenever they want to go fight demons. A lot of them like regularly get involved in like levels of violence that would be shocking and appalling to the real world. They regularly
Absolutely.
encounter, government agencies that are hunting them, or like shadow organizations that are experimenting on them or whatever. And it's like, this is so, it's not like, it doesn't, if they happen to have time for romance subplot, whatever. Like we
Right?
all watched The Promised Neverland, didn't we? And nobody said that show is torture porn for children. It's like, it was The Promised Neverland. The shit slapped in season 1.
Or
So like,
or what's the other show? A Made in Abyss? That's
Made
I
in
don't
Abyss, man. I just I just finished the most recent Made in Abyss and all that. Ooh.
I haven't seen season 2 yet. I haven't been in the right space mentally for it.
Dog,
I
I'm not gonna
haven't.
lie. I'm not gonna hold you. That shit, it fucked us up. It, like, okay. So without spoiling things, there's things that I'm still pissed off about the show for not answering in general. But yeah, go watch season 2.
Okay. Let me put that on
Let me
my.
just stop there.
Oh my gosh! Like because I know it's going to be heavy. Season 1 was heavy. The movie was heavy, and I just have not been in a space, for it. But I need to make that space, But uh,
Oh yeah.
all that to say, like fictional characters are an abstract space to explore basically anything, right? And if you don't like that thing that is being explored, okay, don't watch it. Watch something else, right? To come in and say, no, you're not allowed to explore this fictional thing because it makes me uncomfortable. Uh, Fuck yourself. No,
Yeah, I mean,
go
in the
fuck
first
yourself right
five
off of a
minutes,
fucking cliff. I do not give a shit about how you feel about how the fuck I'm exploring shit in fiction. Fuck you. Have I made that clear?
Ask me if I give a fuck, because I don't.
no, in the first 5 minutes of the IGN video, to actually reference the thing again, so one of them says like, listen, if that's the show you're here for, you're into it, that's fine or whatever. That's like, I'm not trying to tell you can't enjoy it, but did you have to?
There is a thing is too much, and some people are cool with that. Like that's totally fine if that's the show you want. But it just feels bad whenever like you have such a cool thing, and like sure it's around some fan service, but don't make that your primary objective when like it's just you're ruining the cool show apart.
See, you started off with an open-minded, accepting sentence, and then went on to declare your personal taste as objective opinion. See, if you would just rephrase, if people making these arguments would just rephrase it as, if you like it, that's fine. I personally didn't like it because I personally related to this content like this. So personally, for me, I didn't like the show because of the fan service, or I didn't like the show
Yeah.
because of the violence, or whatever. If people would be honest about how it's a them problem, I would care way
Yes.
less about this.
It's
But way too many
totally
Westerners
fine.
are trying to start a movement to make Japan make a different quality of anime to satisfy their morality. And I'm like,
Exactly.
nah,
It's
that's not it,
totally
chief.
fine to not like something. It's totally fine to not like fan service. It's totally like there are certain kinds of violence I can't watch, right? And
Yeah.
I don't even want to say it online because I don't want someone to start sending me like, animations or whatever of this particular form of violence because like my body goes numb. Even in the most cartoonish stick figure versions, I cannot look at it, right? But who the fuck would I be to go in to burst into someone's living room like Kool-Aid Man and be like, nah, this shit fucks with me. I have trauma. You can't watch it.
Or could y'all do an entirely different production so that I don't have to know that this existed in some form?
Right? Like, no, fuck all the way off with that shit, man. Fuck all the way off with all of that, right? And like, dude, if you don't like that, maybe anime wasn't for you. Just stick with fucking Naruto. Go watch. Well, maybe not Demon Slayer. People complain about Nezuko and that. Go watch. I don't know. Jujutsu
Dog,
Kaisen, maybe.
just look up the word genre plus anime. Like whatever your favorite other genre is, look up that plus anime, and you'll be fine. You'll find your safe space, your happy space. They will do what you like in that, and you'll be fine. I promise. And if you still see a theme that you don't 100% agree with, I mean, do you recognize that you're watching media created by a culture that is very different from yours? Like, yeah, that's what cultural interaction means. You being made uncomfortable because your cultural background is not the default anymore. I shouldn't have to explain this to you.
Grow up or go home.
Right?